Hello, wonderful people. Let's continue where we stopped in our series on Let's Play with React. Okay, so let me quickly open up my. Okay, so this is where we stopped. Hello world. You can see, and this is the code we had that gave us that. So you can see this hello world. So let's continue. Today we're going to be learning about two important concepts in using React. Number one is the concept of NPM, Node Package Manager. What is NPM? Whenever you hear the word NPM, it simply stands for Node Package Manager. So it's simply a package manager used in Node. Package or packages are sort of like code that somebody else have already written. So you use NPM to install it from the registry so that you can use such code in your application. So let's take an instance. So this is my server running. So I'm gonna do a Control C to stop this server from running. So I'm gonna quickly install two things. Very importantly, I'm gonna say npm Node Package Manager. Please help me and install these two major things. First of all, I'm gonna get Axios. So Axios is a package that you can use whenever you want to make a fetch. Whenever you want to talk to an external API, you can use Axios for that. So we're going to install Axios. We're also going to install UUID. UUID is used to generate random IDs. So we're going to be using these two packages in this our code. So let's install them. So in order to get in any package into your application, into what you're developing in React, you can use npm. So very importantly, those are the uses of Node Package Managers. There is also Yarn, but we're using npm here. So let's get to our package.json. So you're gonna see the Axios, which we just installed now. Very importantly, okay. So you can now see Axios is now here because we just installed it. So that is what Node Package Manager is used for. So whenever you install something, when you get to package.json, if you install as a dev dependency, you're going to see it as a dev dependency. But if you install as a normal dependency, you're also going to see it here. Okay. So as we move on, we're going to be installing other things. And we're going to be installing them using what we call npm Node Package Manager. So how do you get Node Package Manager into your system? You can actually get it into your system whenever you install Node. Once Node is inside your system, then invariably you have Node Package Manager inside your system. Okay, so let's get to the second concept, very important concept we want to learn about today, JSX. So what's the meaning of JSX? JSX simply stands for Java Script XML. So this is what I mean, JXS, JavaScript XML. Okay, so what does this stand for? JavaScript XML. So let's try to use JXS. So in using CSS, it simply means that you're trying to write JavaScript inside, you're trying to write HTML inside your JavaScript, which we are going to be seeing. Like in this application, you can see this function app. This is a normal function declaration, which is actually what you see in JavaScript. But here you have your H1, which is a syntax for HTML. So you have a combination of HTML and JavaScript written in one file. So that is one of the powers of JSX, and it helps you to create components, which are the building blocks of application in React. Okay, so let's try something. We are going to create some components. So let me quickly click on these. But before that, let me show you something. Now you can actually come here and write in a JavaScript expression. Say you just use these curly brackets, and you just say 5 plus 5. Okay, so if you now save these, get back here and do your normal npm start in order to run your application again. So let's see what this is gonna give us. 5 plus 5. You can see this is actually HTML, and this is an expression that you can do whenever you want to write in some JavaScript. So you can do this, put it in inside curly bracket 5 plus 5. So let's see whether we can see hello world JSX 10, because 5 plus 5 is 10. This is a valid JavaScript expression. So let's look at that. So JSX simply stands for what? JavaScript XML. So it's a way of writing components in React, where you have a combination of JavaScript and you have some HTML embedded in it in order to render your component the way you want. Okay, so this is what we call our basic component, the basic React component. So it is a function component, you understand. Then inside it, you have a return statement that returns what you want to be seen in your UI. So when we open our UI, we're gonna be able to see this now. Okay, I'm gonna press yes and continue. So when we open up, we see what is inside this return statement, which is what is rendered on our UI. So we're gonna go further today in creating components and linking all those components into this very app.js. But before that, I want you to see the output of this expression so that we can move forward from there. Okay. So very importantly, today we've learned about Node Package Manager. We use Node Package Manager npm to manage our packages, and we say that packages are codes that people have already written and kept in the registry, so you can easily pull them in and use them so that you don't go reinventing the wheel. Example is Axios, which we've just installed. Okay, another example is UUID, which we are going to install. We say that we use Axios to talk to an API. It's very similar to the Fetch API that comes with JavaScript. So we're going to be using Axios, and we're going to also be using UUID. You can use UUID to generate random IDs. Okay, so our application is trying to boot up. Let me check out and see. Okay, it's still starting up. The dev server is still starting up. Okay, so once it's fully started, then we can see the apps built here. Okay, so let me close up the former one that I had so that we know that we're working with only one. I'm gonna close it up. Okay, so we know that we're waiting for this one to start up. Okay, so React, very, very important. You're going to find out that with React you can create websites very quickly and in a much better way using components. Okay, so very importantly, as this is still starting up, I'll also explain to you that we have what we call the class-based components and functional-based components. In the past, it's only the class-based components that can house states. We call them stateful components, whereas the function-based components are called stateless components. Okay, so you can do easy state management with the class-based component. That's in the past, because in the class-based component, you have what we call the lifecycle methods, like component did mount and every other thing that helps you to key into the life cycle of the application in performing some very important actions automatically. But now with the advent of hooks, the React hooks, you can also manage states and house states in your function-based components. Okay, so now you can also do your state management using your function-based component by using the various hooks like use state hook, use effect, use ref, and the rest of them. And we're going to be looking at all these. By the time we're looking at them, you'll be able to understand them. Okay, please forgive my system, it's pretty slow, but it's trying to start up the development server. Okay, so this is a valid JavaScript expression which you can always make inside your HTML, and you can also write your HTML inside your JavaScript. Okay, so while this is starting up, I'm going to quickly start in creating the components folder so that I can be able to show you what the last concept I wanted to show today. So I'm going to click on top of this very src file. Then I'm going to click on folder, then I write components. Okay, components. Okay, so very importantly, components. React is a component-based library. Okay, you can see successfully built, so I can easily go check this out before we now continue. Okay, it's gonna come up waiting for the firefox. So okay, so you can see now hello world JXS10. You can see, so this 10 is the calculation that we get from this 5 plus 5. Okay, so let's continue. So I now have a component folder. So inside the component folder, make sure that your component folder is highlighted. So I'm going to click this here in order to create a new file inside my component. Okay, so the first file I'm going to create is going to call it do-calc. So to do a calculation, do-calc. Take note, I'm starting the first word is in a capital letter. That's how you do it for components. So .js. So this is the first component. So we're going to create like 2 components and bring them into the app.js. So you're going to see how component works in React.js. Okay. So this is do-calc. So inside this do-calc, I'm going to write the JS for the expression. So there's an extension called ES7 React Redux snippet. Very importantly, once you install it, it's very, very good for you. You can easily use it to scaffold your component. You can simply say RFCE. So once you type RFCE, you can press the tab. Make sure it's responding before you use it. RFCE. I don't know why my system is so slow. Okay, you can even see it there. So you can see it's React functional export component. So you can click on it to just scaffold the same thing that you would have typed. You can see. So you can name of your functional card because your functional. So inside here, I can simply write my my H1. Okay, so this is the first component I can create. Can call it the do card component. Okay, so this is first component.